Jennifer. Welcome, Mary Elizabeth. Welcome, Gloria. Welcome, Tanisha. And we're waiting on a few folks, so we can go ahead and get started.
Excuse me, can you tell me who this third party is, Laura?
Third party, Mary Elizabeth, can you?
Yes, I'll elaborate. It says the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. By staying in this meeting, you consent to sharing your information, including audio and visual. Users with access to third-party service can watch or share content with others.
Is that from, I see Amy.
Hi, Mary Elizabeth. This is Amy. It's a great question. When we stream live on YouTube, that is our third party. So for example, if you wanted to watch the recording, you could just watch it directly from YouTube, or you could watch it on the link that gets posted on the Air District's website.
Got it.
But if you want to invite your friends and family and neighbors, you can send them the third party link through YouTube.
That's on the district website.
Yes, the link to the YouTube channel. Like right now, we're streaming live on YouTube. So if somebody wants to Google us, they could find us. They're on our channel.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome, folks. Welcome. We will wait a few more minutes just so more community members can join, if that's okay. Let's see, one. I see a few more folks joined. This is Laura. Are we okay to start our meeting? I'm looking at our co-host Margot. What are your thoughts, Margot?
Yeah, I think it's good to start now.
All right. Go ahead and do that. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to your 54th CSC meeting. And just really quickly before we get started on the agenda, we want to say that it was so wonderful to see some of you in the in-person meeting for the Community Clean Air Day event in Fresno a couple months ago. So it was great seeing you all. And once we have another event, we hope to see more of you and your lovely faces in person. We always love connecting with you all in person. And yeah, as always, thank you for your ongoing presence, input, and collaboration in the implementation of AB617 in the Stockton community. My name is Laura Martinez, and today I'm joined by my colleagues, Amy Ramos and Jared Zachary, and we are delighted to be facilitating your meeting today. Jared is our newest member of the Stockton team, and I'll pass it to him briefly to share a little bit about himself before we get started with the meeting.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. So good to see you all and meet you all. My name is Jared Zachary. I'm a part of the Harder & Company team. For the past year, I've been able to help out facilitating with the Imperial Valley CSC that's east of San Diego. And I'm excited to be welcomed in and help facilitate the Stockton team and all the great work that you all are doing on the Stockton CSC. So thank you so much.
This is Laura. Yeah, thank you, Jared. We're excited to have you. And have you share your expertise and all you've learned in Imperial and implement that in Stockton. So we're looking forward to facilitating with you. As you have seen on the agenda, today's agenda is designed to offer an opportunity to discuss quarterly air monitoring updates and SERP implementation updates. So the majority of the meeting will be focused on those two agenda items. But before we get started, let's go ahead and walk through some meeting logistics. I know this is familiar to many of you, but it's always nice to have a refresher, especially since we just took a month off from the CSC meeting. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Right, can you all see my screen? I see thumbs up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Appreciate it. Love the enthusiasm. All right, so before we get started, please mute yourself and make sure your full name and organization are shown as your screen name. To change your screen name, you can click on the top right side of your picture and video. As you can see, there's 3 little dots. You can click rename. And then CSC members, please use the naming convention CSC dash first name, comma last name. For example, CSC dash Jane Doe. And for residents, R dash first name, last name, if you're a resident. All other participants, please use a naming convention for first name, last name, and your affiliation. For AD and CARB, you can do AD or CARB. And for P for general public and all other orgs, you can write your org name. And just as a note, the meeting hosts, which are the facilitation team, Amy, myself, and Jared, we may update your screen name during the meeting just to ensure that we have you all written down for our attendance. And as a reminder, having the right screen name is important for CSC member attendance tracking. You are able to link your phone audio to your video by clicking on the caret on here. So it's next to the unmute button. You can switch to phone audio and follow the steps in order to do so to link the phone audio to the video. So you can either do a phone call or you can do a call me. Again, please update your screen name. CSC members using the naming convention first name, last name with the CSC dash first name, last name. For residents, same thing, R dash first name, last name. And then all other participants, first name, last name, and your affiliation. So I'll leave that on there really briefly. Again, having the right screen name is important for attendance tracking. If you are part of the stipend program, you do need to be present for at least, I believe it's 90 minutes. Virtual meeting etiquette, please stay on mute unless you're speaking or planning to speak. You can use *6 if participating by phone. Please raise your hand to ask questions during the presentation Q&A. You can use *9 if participating by phone. As I mentioned, residents in the stipend program should stay for at least 75% of the meeting to be eligible for a stipend. So that's 90 minutes of a 2-hour meeting. And please state your name before sharing a comment to allow for smooth interpretation of our conversation. We have some group agreements in order to have a productive discussion and respectful dialogue. We want to help achieve the meeting goals by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue. We want to let everyone participate by stepping up and then stepping back. We also want to be civil and respectful. It's okay to disagree, but please be respectful, empathetic, and civil. Please stay on point and on time by keeping comments brief to the point, and this will allow enough time for everyone to participate. We will attack the problem, not the person, by respectfully challenging ideas or outcomes and never attacking the person, and we will honor every person's humanity and dignity. And we will also seek common ground by building consensus and finding shared values that will help achieve the best results. Our agenda for the day, we are partaking in welcome and introductions. We will then transition to reviewing action items with the tracker. We will then do quarterly air monitoring updates, transition to SERP implementation updates, and we hope to build consensus here. And this is where we will spend most of the time today. And then we will do standing updates, wrap up next steps, and public comment. All right. And to adhere to these group agreements, the facilitation team, which is again, Amy, myself, and Jared, we may have to step in at times to ensure that we are following the agreements and ensuring that conversations are flowing in a respectful manner. And as always, if there are any other agreements that you would like to add, feel free to message myself, Amy, or Jared so we can cultivate a safe space where you feel comfortable engaging in conversation. And with that, I will now pass it to our community co-host, Margot. We're so excited to have Margot as a community co-host this month. And yeah, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all again. We missed last month because of July 4th. We took a little holiday. And you all know that we are here because we're hoping to improve our air quality. It's pretty basic. It's something we all need to survive. And we are looking to get cleaner air in the area. As a retired nurse, I'd like to say that I'm very aware that air is vital, but you all know that anyway, because you're all breathing our air. And in this time, I'm not going to endorse any kind of election thing, but I just want to say in this time of an election year, it is incumbent on each of us to talk to our candidates to make sure that they are thinking in terms of protecting the air quality of our community. So ask the questions, see how they plan to protect us, and we can take our steps here in this meeting to make a difference. Thank you. And that's the thing about being a co-host, you get a little bit of a soapbox. So think about that if you want to chime in. Okay, I'm going to pass it on.
This is Laura. Yeah, thank you, Margot, for your welcoming remarks. And this is a quick plug that if anyone wants to be a community co-host, please feel free to message the facilitation team and or let the air district know. We're more than happy to work with you. And yeah, if Margot, you would be willing to answer any questions if community members have any, that would be amazing as well. But yeah, we'll pass it off to Stephanie.
Thank you, Laura. This is Stephanie. Good evening, everyone. Happy August. I hope everyone is having an amazing summer. I don't know how we're in August already, but we're here. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We have some really exciting topics to bring to you all and some exciting progress moving forward in our community emissions reduction program. Just for transparency, I did want to just note there are probably today, probably more than other meetings, there are a handful more air district staff joining us today to actually support our the couple of agenda items that we have. We'll introduce them as each item happens, but we have some folks from our air monitoring team joining us, as well as our grants and incentives team. And then a very familiar face to all of us, Rocio, is unfortunately unable to join us because she's not feeling well. And so we have Nancy on our team joining us, as well as some folks from our OC team, Heather and Kath. So looking forward to tonight. And with that, I'll pass it back to Harder & Co.
Laura. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. We're looking forward to today's meeting, and we will be missing Rocio, but we're excited to have Nancy today. So we will go ahead and transition now to the action items tracker. And yeah, again, thank you, Margot, and thank you, Stephanie, for your welcoming remarks. We'll go ahead and transition to the action items tracker, which, as you all are familiar with, this tracker is a tool that we use to help develop transparency and accountability between the air district and the community. The air district continuously updates the tracker to ensure your voices are heard and progress towards implementing your suggestions are being made. As a reminder, at the end of every meeting, we share action items and encourage any members to add any action items that should be tracked. And as Nancy provides updates, please feel free to ask for clarification. So we will pass it to Nancy.
Thank you, Laura. This is Nancy. I went ahead and dropped down the action items in the comments section, just in case anybody wants to follow along, or if you just want to view them at a later time. I will go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that? I see thumbs up.
Can you make it a bit larger?
Of course. Is this better?
Thank you.
All right. So I will be going through the action items for Stockton. So we are just going to be starting on the completed section because that is all that we have from not last month, from June, yes. And so we can start off with the June action items. And again, this is the completed section. So action item 53.1, this is in regards to the EPA particulate matter PM 2.5 standard process and how this is designed. And so for information on the review process of the National Ambient Air Quality Standards by the EPA, we did go ahead and provide a link here where you can go ahead and click it. And it takes you straight to the EPA website, and then you can read more about how these processes are established. Action item 53.2. This is in regards to following up with residents who were not able to essentially receive a electric lawnmower at the lawnmower exchange events that took place on May 23rd, as well as following up with people who did not receive any notices, callbacks, emails for the passenger vehicle replacement program. And so we did go ahead and connect residents with grant staff who are able to help these residents out. And additionally, we reached out to people regarding the lawnmower exchange event waitlist. There was an interest form that people were able to sign up for. And so we went ahead and just contacted these people and let them know that they, even though they did not, were not able to receive a electric lawnmower at the event, they are still able to participate for this event. And then I do see a hand up.
Yes, this is Debbie. I just had a question on this. Were we going to have an additional lawnmower exchange replacement event in the future? Because I got something that said maybe we possibly would, or we would discuss it. Is that accurate?
Hi, Debbie. This is Stephanie. It's definitely accurate. For some context, there were the Stockton Lawnmower Exchange event that we had back at the end of May was wildly popular, and unfortunately, we couldn't help everyone that was interested because we had a cap of how many lawnmowers we could distribute that day. And so what Nancy was just referring to is we reached out to all those folks that unfortunately couldn't be served at that event to let them know that they could still participate on their own. There is still funding available in the program and gave them instructions on how they could do that. But Debbie, to your point, that's actually something that we will discuss regarding your question of if there's going to be another event. That's something that we'll discuss later in our SERP update. As it stands, there's not enough funding for us to do another event, but I know that you and then a few other folks have asked us if it's possible to move more funding to support additional events. So we're going to talk about that during our presentation later today.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Debbie.
This is Nancy. Thank you, Steph, for that. And so just moving forward with the next two action items, this is in regards to the City of Stockton, which they are here today to answer any questions and provide an update regarding the bike lane measure. And so that concludes the action items for today. I will go ahead and just open up the floor for any questions, comments, clarification.
Mary Elizabeth. This is Laura. Mary Elizabeth has a question.
Yeah, so is the city of Stockton here?
This is Stephanie. They are. I see Zulema is here as well as even from the city of Stockton. And we're excited during our CERP update. We're also gonna we'll have the city present again on the bike lane project. And yeah, they're here to answer any of your questions.
Laura, thank you, Mary Elizabeth, for that question. Espes, you have your hand up.
Hi, yeah, this is SB. I was just asking about the vehicle replacement. So was that the first or the second? There was two events, right, that we had for AB617 for vehicle replacement. So the one that's on the list, was that referring to both or for the last one?
This is Stephanie. SB, I think in that item Nancy just read from the action items, in our last meeting, we had a handful of folks ask questions about their own personal applications for replace. It was just a personal question about their own application. And so we did follow up with that person to help them along with their application. But to your point, I also today in our CERP updates slide, I do have some updates on those events that are happening and some upcoming ones too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then so if anybody else has any questions throughout the meeting, just feel free to just drop them down on in the chat. So it looks like no more questions, so I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Nancy. This is Laura. And as Nancy mentioned, if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you don't feel comfortable asking that question, you can always direct message one of us and we will make sure that your question gets answered. Okay, so there's no more questions and we will go ahead and transition to the next action item. And again, thank you, Nancy, for providing us with those updates. And it sounds like, folks, you're all ready to engage in conversations around the CERP updates, which is really exciting. But before we do get to that, we will be having a quarterly air monitoring update for you all. The Air District, as you know, is committed to presenting air quality results at least once a quarter. And the Air District continuously monitors the air from multiple sites across the boundary. In June, the Air District provided a quick air monitoring update, and today they will provide deeper context on all the data that's been collected thus far. And they will be doing that by showing quarterly, monthly, and daily comparisons at the location selected by the community. So as they're presenting, keep that in mind that it's quarterly, monthly, and then daily, and they'll be sure to explicitly name that as well. And as you can imagine, and as you know, there are multiple ways to present the data. And if you have any questions or recommendations for future presentations, we welcome your suggestions to make data more accessible to you all. And for today, as the Air District is presenting, we will be sure to share how to best interpret the data. And Brad and Alec from the Air District will be presenting, but before we pass it off to Brad and Alec, Stephanie, is there anything else that you'd like to share around this agenda item?
This is Stephanie. There is one quick thing I wanted to share. I wanted to thank a few folks who helped us review the air monitoring presentation ahead of time. I think as this group knows, typically when we do these air monitoring updates, we love to hear from you all about how we can make sure the presentation is, community friendly. It's what you all want to see and want to know about the data. And so we had a few folks that have volunteered for this, to help us give this feedback on the presentation. If anyone wasn't involved that wants to be involved, we invite anyone and everyone to help us along with this, because we know that the air monitoring data is super technical, and we just want to make sure that we're bringing an update to you all that feels valuable and feels understandable. And so I just wanted to share the thanks to, I believe we had Margot and Tanisha and Hector, and then also Gloria and Cynthia via email as well joined, provided some feedback as well. So I just wanted to thank that whole group for their feedback. And that's all I had. I'll pass it over to our Air District team.
Is that me now? Sorry. Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up. Nancy, are you going to be sharing the presentation, or do you want me to share it on my screen? I'm sorry.
This is Nancy. I can go ahead and share, or whatever is going to be easiest for you, Brad.
I already have it loaded, so let me just make it as a presentation real quick on my screen, and I can run it on my end if that makes it easier for everyone. Let me see. I'm overlapping screens. I apologize. But as I get this underway, let me move my screens around. Perfect. Let me try to share my screen real quick. Again, my name is Brad Dawson. I am the supervisor for our community air monitoring network for the district. I'm going to kind of give an overview of our presentation real quick as soon as this says I'm sharing my screen. Can you all see the monitoring update right there?
Yes,
Awesome.
very
I'm
good.
getting thumbs up, which is great. Let me move my screens around so that way we don't get any overlapping. Great. So again, my name is Brad. I am the supervisor for our community air monitoring team. Corinne Vasquez is our specialist for the Stockton community. She is going to be going over the information for this community to you today. Once she's done, we're going to hand it off over to Alex. He is going to go over some of the smoke monitoring updates that our air quality analysis team has been looking at that has impacted the Stockton community over this last quarter. And as I say quarter, I'm talking about April, May, and June is what we're really focusing on this monitoring update. And then we're going to kick it over to Cassandra in our outreach and communications team. She's going to kind of go over some of the messaging that we've been doing over this last period. And now I'll just end it with a couple of updates and refreshes on what our webpage is for our community monitoring. So with that, Corinne, are you ready?
Yeah.
There you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karine Velasquez. I am the Air Quality Instrument Specialist for Stockton. Here is an updated map of the monitoring being conducted in the community. Right here we have Hagen Museum, the Edible Schoolyard, Cal Water Tank, Cal Water Office, Little Manila, San Joaquin Fairgrounds. All these sites have been deployed. We're currently finalizing electrical agreements with the county to start moving forward, deploying a PM 2.5 monitor at the Taft Community Center, and we're also working with the Stockton city officials to get a monitor at the Van Buskirk Center or another food site. Next slide. Health effects of PM 2.5. PM 2.5 is small, and we focus heavily on this because we breathe it into our lungs. And PM 2.5 is small enough to permeate into our bloodstream. This can cause a multitude of negative effects ranging from asthma and other respiratory systems to cancer and can lead to premature death. Key takeaways. The key takeaways are that the majority of Q2 PM 2.5 remained below the daily 24-hour PM 2.5 standard. We had and continue to experience some impacts from wildfires, which we will provide an update later on. We will also be sharing what we saw from our monitors on the 4th of July. Here we are comparing our current 2024 Q2 averages against previous years. On the left, our axis scale is very low, only going up to 9 micrograms per meter cubed. And traditionally, our Q2 isn't impacted significantly. As we start warming up, people use their fireplaces less. We usually see more rain and wind helping clean up the air, and it's early in the wildfire season. We do see some slight changes at University Park and Cal Water, but if we increase the scale of this chart, there's less than 9 micrograms change over the last 3 years. Here we show the monthly averages are quite low, but we do see some increases in June from a few wildfire impacts that we will share in future slides. Next slide. Now we get to the daily PM 2.5 values. Here are all the Stockton community sites, as well as the gray shadow area showing the previous year's daily max values. Again, all our values were quite low and very similar to the previous year. July 4th. We know that the 4th of July is in Q3, but because we had the data, we wanted to share with you what we measured. The sites that were closest to neighborhoods had the most impact from fireworks, like the Little Manila Center. The monitor at Boggs Track had the least impact, as it is closest to industrial areas where less festivities were taking place. Before I hand it off to Alex, who will be providing data on the wildfire impacts, are there any questions or comments?
Thank you, Karen. This is Laura. Margot does have a question in the chat. So Margot wrote, did we know there were going to be 2 new air monitors? Are there plans for even more monitors?
Yeah, I'll take that. When we were initially setting up where to put the monitors at, these were 2 locations that were identified by the community initially. So that's why we've been working forward to try to get these last two PM 2.5 monitors to these areas. I've been in conversations with the electrical providers. We've already signed contracts. They are just running electrical lines under the ground right now and at the Taft Mosswood Community Center. And as soon as they are done out there, we can actually go out and actually deploy the monitor. So it could be days to a couple of weeks before we can get that up, but we really hope to get that monitor in the Taft Community Center up and running as soon as possible. We're just kind of waiting for an update from the electrical company that's doing the underground work to run the lines to the location. For Van Buskirk, we are still working with city officials to see what we can do to try to get a monitor at that site or something else in that Conway Homes area.
Laura, thank you, Brad. Margot, was there anything else around this that you had a follow-up question?
No, it just threw me. I'd forgotten we had more monitors coming. And for some reason, I don't have a hand raise on my Zoom today, so I'll see what I can do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margot. I do see Debbie, you have your hand up, and then we can go to Mary Elizabeth.
Can we go back to the bar graph? I think there was three different bars on each section. There we go. That one. If I look at this, it looks like 2024, for the most part, it was higher everywhere.
We kind of have a little bit of a mixed bag. Certainly, probably the largest increase we saw was at University Park. Hagen Museum is a little bit smaller. They're kind of all over the place, but I think one of the main key takeaways here is that our scale for this chart to show your values is really low. And so we are talking about the difference between 1 to 2 to the max is like less than 3 microgram change per over these years that we've seen. So it's actually very stable. If we actually decrease this scale, so we can throw in like a 24-hour standard or something else to try to show like a comparison, it gets really flat, kind of like what we see in like the hourly datas right here, where it's really flat lined. And in the gray highlighted area is what our highest daily average for all those sites in the previous year. So there's a lot of overlapping that we've seen in this last quarter, which is good that we don't see like a significant increase or anything like that. But it is something that we wanted to highlight, that we are seeing stable values for Q2. It's traditionally that we don't see too much change because we do have the wet weather. We do have increased airflow. We don't have that increased stagnation. people aren't burning their fireplaces because it's starting to warm up. So we usually do see a decrease in Q2 for PM 2.5. But in the later months, especially with the wildfires that were going on, and Alec will be talking about that in the future slides, we'll probably see some type of increases into Q3.
Well, we had probably wildfires last year too.
Mhm.
At this time, because it's just been that type of thing going on in California. So I am just concerned. I would just like to see that. I know it's micrograms, but I still would like to see it going down, you know, some way. So because of our efforts, but that's just
I understand.
my statement. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura, thank you, Debbie. Mary Elizabeth, and then Cynthia.
Hi, so I just want to make sure, that everybody's aware, here we're looking at a daily average, so there could be some, peaks in those averages that exceed that would affect folks that are more sensitive. And then when we look at a quarterly average, that's a lot of time, where you can average out some, pretty horrendous air quality. And then I appreciate, that even though it wasn't part of second quarter, that there was some data on the fireworks, but we have not just fireworks. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen like all the data. And when I look at it, I can only look for a limited time. It's not like I can go in and download a whole bunch and, spend my time, kind of looking through and seeing my own kind of patterns. But when we looked at the fireworks, it was much more, than just the 4th of July. So that what we're seeing right there might just have been from the city's fireworks, because those fireworks were pretty intense, but there was a lot of neighborhood fireworking that went on throughout Stockton. And I know this is only monitoring a little bit, but I'd like to see, some other times besides just the 4th of July in those areas. And then the last thing that I wanted to say, so I guess that's like 4 things there, is that we haven't had any, and I don't know if, if that group that met before, had talked about it when you were putting together this presentation, but there's a mobile temporarily assigned van that we can put in some places. And so I'd really like to have a discussion about where we think that might be, because there's definitely some seasonal effects. And I appreciate, very much, that you brought in that climate factor, because that time of year, there are a lot of mitigating circumstances that might not be otherwise. And so is there any discussion about that van that we have the ability to deploy that I don't believe has been deployed?
Thank you very much. And actually, going to try to address a lot of those concerns that you had in comments. We average out our data per daily averages, so that way we can combine, or we can compare it against a standard such as 35 microgram per meter daily standard that we try to achieve. There's also annual standards that we try to achieve too, but we don't have an annual set of data, so we didn't incorporate the annual standards into this as well. And to the fact we are monitoring hourly, and we do push that data to the community's website. And you can always go back and look at a specific day and you're like, hey, you know what? I thought yesterday was really bad. You can go onto the website and look to to the previous day, or select whatever day you want, and then you will see the hourly averages for PM 2.5 at one of the sites. So you can select which site is closest to you, or closest to where you were at, or may have been impacted, and actually see that data. But for the presentation, we just wanted to use comparable numbers against known standards that we can actually show against, and kind of start as the whole at the full quarter, comparing other yearly quarters, and then work our way down to those daily averages. But if we started trying to incorporate a full quarter into hourly data, it just gets into a jumbled spaghetti mess of charts that no one can really understand, unfortunately, because it just gets so fine and you only have so much of a computer space to share the data with. And then back down to the van monitoring. The vans we have 2 vans. They're always available. Initially, we did have the van out at the Little Manila Center until we were able to get a permanent monitor there. But yes, if there's an opportunity or a need from the community that, hey, we want some extra monitoring in this area, we can try to work on getting the monitoring van out and deployed. We would prefer to actually have it deployed for a few days to get a lot of data instead of just driving it around, getting real fine points here and there, and then bringing it back to an office or something like that. We would like to deploy it, but that's always a future conversation that we can always have. We're open to getting the van up to Stockton and get that deployed as well. So thank you very much for all those comments. And I hope I answered all your questions.
Thank you, Brad. This is Laura. I do see we have a few more questions.
Can I have an opportunity for follow-up?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, looking here at this 4th of July, was there any difference in this 4th of July than last year's 4th of July or the 4th of July before that?
We didn't grab that data, but we definitely can and present that on the next meeting and incorporate that, because that is Q3 data. I'm going to make a note right here, and we can actually incorporate that into another slide for the Q3 air monitoring update, and then we can share that changes over the years that we've been able to see.
Yeah, thank you. That would be really good, especially because it's a City of Stockton policy to allow for sales and use of safe and sane fireworks that, also emit pollutants. And outside in the county, and we have some pocket areas in Stockton where there's county, and they don't allow any fireworks, period. So I really think that, when we look at municipal policies and how those affect the population, health, and safety, we need to consider and have that data available so that we can show to our policymakers, the impact of their decision on our health and welfare. Thank you.
No problem. And I think I see some comments already in the chat window. And to get on my little soapbox for the district, we are sponsoring and trying to get more people to invest in drone shows instead of doing fireworks. And I know we have some grant funding to assist with cities trying to incorporate a drone show, which I think are actually pretty cool. I've seen a couple of those. They're pretty impressive, and we are trying to incentivize more people to do less fireworks and more drones that don't produce any smoke. So
thank you, Brad and Mary Elizabeth. And just to ensure that we're capturing our action items correctly, is that, Mary Elizabeth, you wanted to see the 4th of July, right? For the July air?
Well, actually, we have a season in Stockton, and I don't know, others around can pipe in, but I'd say it starts around the 20th of June and goes through probably the 7th of July. Does that sound about right, folks?
That sounds about right. I just wanted to add that I was listening to the actual dispatching of calls that night, and there was a fire every 2 minutes, a fire call every 2 minutes that night, and I'm not exaggerating. Every 2 minutes, one of the stations was getting a call for a fire. So it's not just fireworks, it's the fires that are caused by the fireworks also. And they were bad this year. Bad. So.
Laura, thank you, Debbie, for adding that reflection. And we'll go ahead and answer Cynthia and Douglas's question. So Cynthia, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and then Douglas.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia here. I have one proposal. It's like a proposal for the group, also asking the air district if this is possible. Thanks for putting together the daily averages in that slide 7 that you had. But I'm wondering if, Q1 next year, or the next the first quarterly update of next year, we can do also the annual averages. It's really great to see, the daily averages of that 35 microgram being met. That's amazing. A really significant work happening. But wondering if we could also look at the annual averages, since those standards are significantly lower. We have the 12 microgram standard that we just got a 5-year extension on. We have the new 9 microgram standard that y'all are going to be working on creating a state implementation plan for. I'm just wondering if that's open to the group, if that's something the group is interested in being able to see, and if that's something that we would be able to add to the next quarterly air monitoring update.
So to kind of go into some of those standards, I just want to clarify and make sure that we're all on the same page. The new standards, the new 9 microgram standard, the 12 microgram previous standard, those are calendar annual standards. So if we try to do like Q2 from Q2 and try to compare that, it's not really that comparable to the standard. It's a calendar standard. And we did present that back on that, I think it was May 1st presentation. I don't think we got to it, but we did submit the presentation to the CSC. And so we did show where we were at with that new 9 microgram standard for the total of 2023. And we definitely will be incorporating those annual averaging for the calendar year, so January through December of 2024 at our next 2025 meeting. So we will be addressing those new standards so you can kind of see where we are at.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would, and then if that is the case, then I would like to request that if we don't get to it the next meeting, if we can have a more open, we can revisit, bring you all back at the next meeting to have us really have a conversation about it. I think it's important for everybody to kind of understand where we're at. But yeah, thank you for refreshing my brain. I'll have to go back and look at those slides.
Oh, it's no problem. We're boring people over here. We stare at data all day long. So sorry, we ingest all this stuff. So we try to make it into the prettiest of charts for you guys to see.
Laura, thank you, Cynthia. Douglas.
What do I have to press to unmute on the telephone option?
I believe it's *6.
Hello?
Oh,
I can hear you, Douglas.
Okay. Cool, thanks. Okay. I would like to, before I talk to him, is Jeff available from the port? Yes?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Douglas.
Yes. I have a question. Remember a while ago I asked you what was this smoke coming out of the port of Stockton, and you said it was steam? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. My concern that every time I look at the charter draft is to me I get nervous and it's so close of dry spell and so it's a mixture of good air and bad air. You know what I mean? And so I was reading a lot in other countries where they have like I don't know if they do this. I don't know if it's a theory that they have like weather control where they boil a huge big gigantic area with water and boil so they make rain. So it's moisturize the air so they could have rain and storm, whatever, to ease the weather. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that is the way of other countries do it, and I don't know if it's just a theory or something that I read about that. If it exists or not. You know what I mean? I was more concerned about because we get a lot of dry air from the north, right? And it comes to us and get all the dry air and the dry heat, you know, especially for people like myself who have AFib and can't breathe and trying to keep up with the air. And it's the heat is really exhausting. You know what I mean? So, is there a way or possibly that a harmonic like carb could also monitor that too, as well as control the weather or not, or no? It's just a myth.
Oh, as far as what DTE, the steam plume that you see?
Yes.
I am not aware, Douglas. I don't know if anybody from CARB wants to try to address that, but I don't know.
A carb, have you? Because I'm just saying this. I just read an article about that they came other countries like in China and other Philippines have used those type of machine where they heat out steam for the air to produce rain. So as far as my concern, I was trying to see if it's just a myth or something like that to control weather pattern.
Hey everybody, and hey Doug, this is Kyle Goff with CARB. I would say this kind of question is definitely pretty far outside of my wheelhouse, personally anyways. I deal with incentives and money. But can I maybe drop my email address in the chat for you? Would you mind emailing me the article? I can do some digging on my end, ask some folks over here at CARB that would know a lot more about this kind of stuff than I would.
Yeah.
Definitely was saying it from TikTok. TikTok is always you just type in weather monitor, change it, and it will. You have a article about that, you know, so video about that, you know. So okay, but as far as that concerned, about the 4th of July, as concerned, did they even add including with the fire that was there in I know there was one couple of fires in the south side by the freeway. Is that also was affected by that by the firework as well of the monitor? That's my question.
Yeah. So our monitors that we have for this are live PM 2.5 monitors. We do have some speciation data, but that is with the laboratory, and usually that is a 4 to 5 month turnaround because they are true scientists at heart and they take their time. So I can't tell you what the speciation was of the particles. All we know is that this is the entire entire quantity of PM 2.5 occurring during this time. So I would assume majority of this is due to smoke from fireworks. If there was a fire nearby, that can definitely be impacting it. But that's why we were just focusing kind of on the 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. because it took almost 12 hours for the particulates in the air to stabilize to what it was before the sun set and people started setting off fireworks. It sounds like they also set off a couple of fires too in the Stockton area, which definitely would affect smoke. But we don't have that speciation data right now. We will in a future update. But at this point, this is just kind of like anything that's PM 2.5 or smaller, despite what it is, wood smoke, fireworks, even fine dust particles would be captured by this. So it includes everything.
That's what I was talking about. Dust particle. Is that part of what you recognize? If it's like it could be wood, it could be like or the powder gun when you use the firework. What they will collect sample of that. Do you have that sample of those type of comparisons? Well, is it from the firework or is it from the fire? Or is it from what's smoke or from the gas? I don't know. Whatever. Do you still have to have a sample of the particle?
We will have that data. It's just with the laboratories at this point. We send all of our analyzation to a third-party laboratory. They're called Desert
I would like
Research
to have that
Institute.
information.
Probably
I
we
would like to
won't
have
be
that
able to get that
information for the
information
next
until
meeting.
we probably won't be able to have that data until probably in December or maybe November if they're quick. But on one of those monitoring updates, whenever we can have that data to share, we definitely will re-highlight that back on this state. So I'll make a note of that to make sure that when we do get the speciated data where we can actually see what all makes up that PM 2.5 makeup, we can address that.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad. You're doing a good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Douglas.
Laura.
How you shut us off?
There you go. We just muted you. We muted you, Douglas.
I can do it for you, so then that way you don't have to worry about it.
Did that for you. Well, thank you all for your questions. We'd now like to resume this presentation. So I think either Brad or Alec.
Yeah, I'm going to hand this off over to Alec over at our air quality analysis team, and he's going to talk about some of the smoke impacts that we've seen from the wildfires recently.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brad. My name is Alec Terrazas. I'm an air quality specialist here on the AQA team with the Valley Air District. So yeah, I'll go ahead and start things off by just kind of talking about what we're seeing here. On this slide in particular, we're taking a look at California wildfires in 2024. And you can see if we're looking at that chart on the left-hand side here, the y-axis is going to represent acres, and then we can see a comparison made. It's a year-to-date comparison, and so that would be from the start of the year up into, I believe it's July 31st, and it's comparing 2024, the amount of wildfire acreage that had been burned, to 2023, as well as the 5-year average for that same interval. And essentially, what this is showing is that in 2024, year to date, we have seen more acres of wildfires across California compared to previous years. And especially if you look at 2023's year to date acreage burned in the blue right next to it, you can see quite a dramatic difference in how much acreage was burned by wildfires in that year to date comparison. And then also taking into account the 5-year average for the same interval, that year-to-date interval, you can see that we are in 2024 up to this point still quite significantly above that as well. So we do understand here that 2024 has seen more acres of wildfire across California, and in the table on the right-hand side, some examples of wildfires that were impacting San Joaquin County, or at the very least that occurred within San Joaquin County, that we saw smoke plumes, in close vicinity to San Joaquin County specifically. But this just kind of highlights some of the activity that we've seen as of July 31st. Some active wildfires are listed there as well, such as the Park Fire, which I'm pretty sure we are all pretty well familiar with at this point. It is the largest wildfire of the season to date. So another example would be the Corral Fire, in San Joaquin County, that's kind of listed there. That was a big fire that we did see happen in San Joaquin County. It is currently extinguished at the moment, thankfully. But the majority of these fires, with some exception, are grass fires as well. So that is something to be noted I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So here is going to be an example of some wildfire smoke that was visible on satellite imagery, and you can see that in the figure over on the left-hand side there. This smoke was transported from the Sites fire, which ignited on Monday, June 17th. So this smoke plume drifted down the very next day on June 18th and was captured in this satellite image. Doing so, the smoke traveled over the San Joaquin County and Stockton area on its way down through the valley. And really, it's a good instance of we were able to see it. We were able to see it go through the valley, and we'll kind of show in the next slide some of the impacts that that smoke plume generated. But before we do, I would also like to take a second and mention the image that's shown on the right-hand side. So this image is showing a pretty resourceful online tool. It's an interactive map, and it's the Air Now Fire and Smoke map. It refreshes pretty consistently within the hour. I'm not sure the exact refresh rate, but you can constantly check in and just see what the air quality is looking like, and you can move around to different parts of California or even outside of California as well if you wanted to take a look and see what conditions at the ground level were looking like with regard to smoke impacts or particulate matter impacts as well. But it's a really useful tool. I believe the link up there is just fire.airnow.gov. But it is definitely helpful if you had questions, about the air quality. You can always check that to see if there are smoke impacts occurring at ground level. And then the other thing is that the smoke impacts you may see shown on that map do depend on multiple factors, including meteorology, wind direction, and other factors as well. But I'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Alec, I'm just going to interject just a little bit on this,
Sure.
the Fire Air Now website. It is a very great tool. We actually work with the forestry services. Sometimes we actually deploy temporary monitors on CARB's behalf in front of some of the wildfires. You can also select on each one of those dots what the last day average of pollutant was, because it can change. It could be saying that it's green, but it could have been really bad 2 hours ago. So it's kind of interesting that you can actually look and kind of see a little quick history of the smoke impact too, because this will show you live data as quick as we can get it. But you can actually select some of those sites and see past data as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Brad. Thank you for expanding on that. Yeah, super useful tool, especially taking a look back in time as well, just to kind of compare and see what current conditions are to with what they may have been in the past there. But that's a great mention. Thank you. But yeah, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide here. So this is an example of the particulate matter impact that we saw from that smoke plume coming from the Sites fire. In this chart here, you can see the particulate matter concentration in micrograms per cubic meter on the y-axis, and then the dates in question along the x-axis there. And this is going to be the AB617 monitoring sites as well as the regulatory University Park site. But you can see as we go from left to right on the x-axis, going from June 17th to June 18th, when that smoke plume did arrive over Stockton and over San Joaquin County, you can see a pretty notable increase there in the particulate matter concentrations across the board at all of the sites here. And it seems to be elevated for a few hours starting in the afternoon going into the evening. So this is an example of some smoke impacts that were observed from that smoke plume. Concentrations did remain in the good and moderate AQI categories. Thankfully, we didn't see it go up any higher than that in terms of unhealthy air quality or particulate matter concentration. But this was an example that I think we all felt was pretty necessary to kind of point out and show when these impacts do happen, we do see it in the hourly data and things like that. But yeah, I think that about covers it for this portion of the presentation. I'll go ahead and open up to any questions or if anyone would like to add anything more.
This is Laura. Yeah, thank you, Alec, for that informative presentation. I do see some movement in the chat. And Mary Elizabeth, you dropped something from 2018, which is now 6 years ago. Is that in reference to Alec's presentation?
I'm sorry. It was in reference to DTE, the steam, right? So, you know, steam is not a regulated compound, but in that steam plume, there are regulated compounds, and I just wanted to provide the evidence for my statement that DTE is the greatest stationary source of pollutants. And it would be great, and I did put a question mark on that. Thank you, Laura, for calling that to mind. You know, I'm wondering, are we going to have another apportionment at some point in time to see, you know, where we are in terms of our pollutant sources, our stationary pollutant sources. Thank you very much. And also that worked okay. I had to click on the beta, and I go to that site all the time, Alex. I mean, I'm on that site all the time, you know, because it's got other information in there too. And, you know, I like to compare, you know, when I go out and I can sense that the air doesn't feel so good. You know, rather than just relying on that University Park, we do have some other purple monitors that are picked up in that network, which I appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. I do see we have a question from Espe.
Yeah, this is SB. I just wanted to ask regarding the that Fire Now, is that integrated at all with the app from the air district, the one that basically gives us the breakdown, you know, of where we're at, you know, in the red, orange, what have you. That was my question. I just wanted to make a comment on that application itself. And if folks are not using the application to take photos of any like fires that they see as they come across, you know, well, anywhere in the valley, but like, you know, here in Stockton, I wanted to just like verify that I've used the app. You know, people have sent me photos, and then I get a call back from the district. You know, I put my information in. So previous to this app that the Valley Air uses, the current one, not the fire one, but the Valley Air app is very good in terms of giving the information, and then and giving the data then therefore to the district, and then all those small fires can be accounted for, and then I think that'll help with the collection of data. So if folks do see any kind of fires, even if they're small ones, obviously that are illegal burns that could be happening sometimes, like with the homeless population, a lot of times we see them to the side or off the levees. I just wanted to testify that app does work really well now, and it goes straight to like a live person, including on the weekends. Whereas before it wasn't so much, but now I just want to say that it works really well, and that to use it, it's under I forgot what it's under. It's under like claim or something you have to put. It's not like super obvious when you go onto the app itself. When you like complaint, it's under complaint. So, but maybe we can have a presentation on the app at a future meeting.
This
Thanks.
is Stephanie, thank you so much, SB. And just as a reminder to everyone who's maybe less familiar with our app or maybe reporting a complaint to the air district, I'll just maybe reiterate that SB's totally right. If you all have air quality concerns in your community, you can report complaints to us in various ways. SB's highlighted on our app where there's an area to file a complaint, but you can also give us a call if you don't use the app, and email us as well. And so I just maybe wanted to reiterate, reemphasize what SB is saying. And SB, I think you're totally right. I think in an upcoming meeting, we can plan to have a presentation on that. We typically actually will do that as part of our air monitoring presentations, but it's not in this one. So we can actually add it to the next one, which I think is a great addition. Thanks, SB.
Thank you, Steph. And this is Laura. Yeah, thank you, SB. And I do want to apologize. I mispronounced your name twice. So moving forward, I will pronounce it accurately. So thank you, SB.
No worries.
Right. Are there any other questions or comments that we have for this action item before we transition to the SERP implementation update?
I'm sorry, I guess I do.
We
What about
actually have some more
ozone?
slides to go through, actually. So
Okay, yeah, I thought, are we gonna get ozone?
we didn't have any ozone to present on this one because there wasn't a lot of significant data, and we were really highlighting on the PM 2.5. But we can definitely bring into some of the ozone data and some of the other gaseous data at a future monitoring update, definitely.
Okay, well, because I know that from just my monitoring for my own health, we've had a lot of we had 17 days over 100, right? That's like ozone production time. So would be good to see how that worked out. All those NOx react and make that ozone that's a real bad irritant also.
Yeah, that would be a great, especially to incorporate into the quarter 3 because that's our hottest time period. And yeah, absolutely. It is ozone season right now. So definitely for our quarter 3, we'll incorporate some ozone data for you, definitely. And then if there's no other questions, I'm going to kick this off over to Cassandra and our OC to kind of go over some of the outreach and communications that they've been doing.
Hi, thank you, Brad. So this is Cassandra. I'm with the Outreach and Communications. And so just going to talk to you about how can the district make sure the community knows that we expect worse air quality. So there's a handful of tools we utilize. We put out emails, which go out to the public, goes out to the CSC, goes out to Valley schools and school districts, as well as newsletters, our news releases. That goes out to media outlets, again, the public, county health officers, also schools, school districts that may be affected. And then we also use social media across all of our platforms. We'll put out whatever incident is occurring or what we anticipate to occur. And we're on Facebook, we're on X, Instagram, Threads, and Nextdoor. Next slide, please. And so this is just an example of some of the information that we put out through social media. We do have it in English and in Spanish. Currently, right now, we've been running our wildfire impact update, which has been revamped. And so it's all kind of streamlined. And it just lets the public know, what's going on and what we're anticipating. And then it'll link back to our wildfire page so you can click on there and see which fires are currently impacting our air basin. So lots of great information being shared out. And this is something that, we take pride in and will continuously continue to do and push this information out there. So it's either at the click of your fingertips, and it's just a great way to get a handle on what's going on.
And then with that, we're just going to end it with this last slide, just reminding everyone that we do have the community air monitoring website where you can look at all of our monitors that we have up and live data. We are streaming that to our website. We also send it out to CARB as well for them to ingest and just as a reminder, this is the web page right here. I hope you all can still see that. You can select on the site, or you can select it up here. So like you can select, let's do edible schoolyards. And then this will tell you live today what like PM 2.5, where our PM 2.5 is at. And as it was mentioned earlier, ozone, it is the ozone season, so you can select on ozone. Ozone definitely will increase with temperature and sunlight exposure. So you can already see that it was up to a little over a level 3 for Stockton today at Boggs Tract. But now in the latest hour, we've dropped back down into a level 2. But yeah, this is a tool for everyone to use. You can always go back in time. So like if you did want to look back like July 4th that we were always talking about, you can select the PM 2.5 and see those peaks that we were seeing. So this wasn't the most interesting July 4th slide, sorry. But with that, I'm going to stop my share. Was there any other questions before we go to the hot topic of the next topic? Sorry.
This is Amy. They're all hot topics, Brad.
They're all hot topics,
All of them.
especially wildfires.
Exactly. Exactly. We have to update our analogies for sure. This has been a really good conversation, Brad and team. Thank you so much for presenting and for bringing all of this data that you shared with us tonight. It sounds like we have several action items related to the types of data folks want to see, some comprehensive data, and it sounds like over the next couple of quarters, you'll be able to present that data in different ways and even from different locations. I also heard that we definitely want to talk a little bit about the mobile monitoring van, and so we'll be sure to include that in the following agenda items for discussion. At this time, I'm not seeing any new comments in the chat or any hands raised, but I'm just gonna shuffle through my screen to make sure I'm not missing any hands. And I'm not. So I think we're ready, with your permission, community. I think we're ready to transition to the other main agenda item for today, which is around providing the community with a comprehensive update regarding the bike lane measure. So as you already know, those of you who attended the June meeting, there was some dedicated time allocated to listening to the bike lane measure. We also talked about it when we met in person. That seems like forever ago, right? When we had that conversation. And so now this item is here on today's agenda so that the community can develop a very clear understanding of how the City of Stockton's bike path infrastructure projects will increase safety and active modes of transportation. The goal around this agenda item is to help build consensus among all CSC members so that we can move forward with successful implementation of this third measure. Before we dive into the presentation, I'd love to invite tonight's co-host, Margot, to provide us with a little bit of context to help fuel the conversation. Margot.
Hi, yeah, we all worked really hard on these SERPs and getting them put together way at the start of our meetings. And as we are moving towards implementing them, it's getting kind of exciting. We were talking about the bike path when we met at the Port of Stockton in person, and we talked about it again in June. And we're hoping that we can come to some consensus this evening about moving forward or not. But I want to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. So please be sure and ask your questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margot, for increasing or inviting the community to be engaged. At this time, I'm going to pass it to Stephanie to provide us with some context before we dive right into the presentation. Steph?
Thanks, Amy. This is Stephanie. I wanted to thank everyone for all the great engagement. Every time we do an air monitoring presentation, there's so many questions that we love answering and interacting with you all, and having Brad and Alec and folks from our air monitoring team here. So thanks all, and Corinne as well. I am going to move us on to transitioning a little bit. We were thinking about air monitoring, transitioning us to kind of SERP implementation. I'm excited to present a few updates. We have some fun kind of quick updates since our last meeting, since we didn't meet last month, but we also have a couple of measures that we've kind of been talking about for a few meetings now. But I think Margot was such a great advocate of, I think, August is the time we're going to make, we want to make a decision about it. So we're happy to have the city of Stockton joining us today about that. But before we get to that, I'm actually going to present some quick updates. So a very quick update that I appreciate Laura for bringing up is we wanted to thank everyone for those that attended Community Clean Air Day. This was an event that we had in downtown Fresno. Everyone on the committee was invited to join us for a day to kind of celebrate clean air successes and really talk about how we can highlight and share best practices for successful community engagement. It was just a really fun day. We had panels, we had a vendor fair, we had a lot of just interacting with each other with folks around really the whole valley, which was really exciting. One thing I'll highlight is we did have Pandora from our very own committee who was on one of our panels, which was very, very exciting. So just wanted to thank those that were able to join. And if you weren't able to join, we'd like to do this again in the future. So we hope you can attend the next one. I do also have some updates on our passenger vehicle replace program. So as you all are aware, this program has been open for about 2 months now. And we are so excited just about the progress and the excitement in the community over this program. We are partnering with Valley Clean Air Now, or Valley Can. And you all have been getting emails from us, but they are hosting vehicle replacement at workshops where they go into local restaurants in the community, sit down with folks, as you can see in the picture, and help them through with the application. They're really well-attended events, as you can see from the picture as well. And so far we've had, since the program opened, monthly different outreach events. We had one in June, we had one in July, and we had between the two of those more than 270 residents that attended. And as of right now, through all of this outreach that's being done, we have more than 66 applications that have been submitted for a new or used plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle, which is so, so exciting. Some of those have done their purchase and gotten that funding back. And some of those are still in the process of shopping. Maybe there's a car that they're waiting to see, or maybe they're waiting to get, a certain price, but some folks are still out there kind of shopping for the vehicle that they're interested in. But currently with those 66 applications, we have about $1 million remaining, which in 2 months, it just went quickly. As this group remembers, you all supported reallocating $2 million to support this measure. Originally, we just had $800K. So that's a total of 2.8 million. So we're more than 2/3 through that funding in just 2 months. So a lot of great progress on this measure, and just thank you all for supporting it and getting this money into the community. We will continue Valley Can will continue these workshops kind of until that funding is exhausted, and we'll make sure to continue to update the CSC as, with this program in general. With that, I did want to update folks on an event that is coming soon in the community. We sent out an email at the end of July for this event, so we hope you've been able to share with your neighbors, share with your friends. But there is another workshop coming up on Monday, August 12th. Same time, 5:30 to 7:30 at the same location, Mountain Mike's. So if you need that email or need this flyer and information sent out to you again, please let us know, and our team is happy to share with you again.
This is Heather. Can I interrupt? Steph, are you supposed to have a presentation up right now?
Oh my gosh. I am so sorry.
I was looking for photos. I'm like, wait a minute, is it just me?
Oh my goodness.
There we go. Thank you.
I've just been talking to myself. Let me go back because I want to show you all the pictures.
I know, I went looking for the photos and I was like, wait a second.
This is Stephanie. Thank you so much.
There we go.
I appreciate it. These are the pictures from the event. They're just really one-on-one. They get busy because there are so many folks that, want, attend and would like the assistance. So this is a picture from an actual Stockton event. And, this is the picture that's more on the top is Valley Can staff that are actually, there sitting down, paperwork in hand, helping folks with the application. And then this is the information for that event that I just mentioned too. These flyers are the ones that we distributed to you all. And so if this flyer doesn't look familiar or you saw it and you need it again, let our team know and we're happy to send that to you. Perfect. And so the next thing that I'll plan to discuss, moving us along, is bike lanes that we've all kind of been discussing. As a reminder, this is a project we've been discussing for a couple. Oh, you know what? Before I move on, I see that SB's hand is raised. Go ahead, SB.
Yeah, this is SB. If we could get the flyer in the chat, that would be great. I know that you're sending it out, like just so that we make sure everyone has it, if that's possible. The other thing is I really want to encourage any of the folks that are part of the AB617 committee to attend those workshops. I've attended all of them, and the staff is really very well organized. We have a lot of community members that come out for the event. The venue itself lends itself to it because it has this natural little divider where the folks are getting ready, have their paperwork, and then they do their one-on-one like you saw in the photos. But if you have not attended an event at all, it's just something that I think is necessary, and the community members benefit. We're able to talk to them, engage, and give them additional information. But I think that if you haven't had an opportunity to do so, please do try to attend the events, because it's helpful for our residents. They really get, the staff is just, they're just great. I can't say much more about them. They're just very positive people, and they know what they're doing. Thanks.
Thanks, SB. And I see in the chat a few requests to drop in the flyer. And so I'm just looking to maybe my team, Nancy, Heather, or Cass, if either any of you is able to drop it into the chat, that'd be great.
And Douglas asked, where was that, the location of that?
The location is Mountain Mike's Pizza on Manthe Road. Thanks.
Western Ranch.
Go ahead. I heard someone unmute.
I'm sorry.
This is SB. It's in the Food for Less shopping center in Western Ranch, right next to the Food for Less.
Thanks, SB. And Everett, did you have a question?
And Douglas said, thank you very much.
Oh, she just answered it.
You're welcome, Douglas. Thank you, Everett. And this is Amy. Stephanie, before we go on to the next item, I'm wondering if you want to show some pictures from the Community Clean Air Day, since we didn't get to see them.
Yes, thank you, Amy. These are the pictures. These are just a few pictures from Community Clean Air Day. I have so many that are all my favorites, but just on this to fit onto the slide, we just picked these few. But the top picture is the whole group that was there, just pulling out some familiar faces. I see Dr. Farrell there in the corner. I'm sure there's lots of other folks mixed in here. But this was a picture they took at the end of the day to kind of celebrate the event. Down in the bottom left corner, there is Pandora, who is on our panel. She sits on this committee as well. And yeah, just a few other fun pictures from the day. We also had what's called, it's totally new to us, but Harder & Company had the amazing suggestion to work with a graphic recorder, which those are those big murals you see in the back. During the whole meeting, they were live note-taking, live, like taking in all of the feedback that community members were giving us, taking notes on that and turning it into this beautiful mural. So that's what you see in the back too, which was really exciting. Thanks, Amy, for that suggestion. And I'm going to continue to move us forward to our bike lane project. So just as a reminder to folks, this is a project we've reviewed for a few months now. And I just wanted to maybe take a minute. Margot even mentioned it, that it's been a minute since you all have been in that SERP development phase, a couple years actually. And so I just wanted to take a slide, and thanks to Margot for, I think, helping us craft this item, is take a step back and just again talk about what the goal of this measure is. And again, this was a measure that was, originally that you all elected to add to your SERP. And the goal of this is to work with different transportation agencies in the Stockton area to kind of, work with these agencies to identify and leverage funding to make the community overall more bike friendly. The types of things the funding would be used for is bike lane installation. So that's things like paving and striping, which is pretty typical bike lane installation work. And again, the overall goal when we're thinking of air quality is, again, to make communities more bike friendly by reducing emissions. It's fewer people in their cars, more people walking, more people on their bikes, and reducing what they call, those vehicle miles traveled. So I hope that helps kind of frame, the goal of this measure. We just wanted to take a moment to also kind of summarize what this project is. It's been, like I said, it's been a few meetings that we've been talking about this, but I thought we could take a moment to just have, talk about this project again and open it up for any last questions that we have. But we do have the city of Stockton. So I'm actually going to pass over to Zulema to go over these next couple slides.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Zulema Rodriguez. I'm an associate engineer here with the city of Stockton, and I'm also the project manager for this project. So as you all know, this is the Stockton Safe Routes to School Safety and Connectivity Improvement Project. The goal of this project is to install bike lanes near several elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. It's all to increase safety and to promote active modes of transportation. So this map depicts the AB617 boundary, which is just one part of this project. As we previously showed you, this project has multiple locations, but we're going to focus in on the AB617 boundaries. The overall budget for the bike lane installation is shown there on the screen, and those are for only the bike lanes and improvements that are associated with the bike lanes in the AB617 region. Anything outside of that, we have not included in this presentation. So that includes Center Street from Harding all the way down to 3rd Street, El Dorado Street from Harding to 3rd, French Camp Turnpike from Center Street down to 8th Street, and then we have Hazelton from San Joaquin Street to Wilson Way. And as shown on the screen, the $500,000 from SERP will go towards the bike lane installation and improvements associated with that.
Thanks, Zulema. And maybe I'll just leave this map here. I also, maybe before we open it up to questions, any questions that we do have. I know we have had over these past few meetings, lots of questions that we've had answered. But maybe before we go towards that kind of building consensus, I think Margot had a great suggestion when we were prepping for this call that maybe we did I think would be a good idea to maybe talk really high level just about big picture, how we're doing overall with SERP implementation of our overall incentive measures, just with keeping in mind kind of how we're doing with the budget and, all of our goals to kind of make sure that this funding gets into the community. We have been in the implementation phase for a couple of years now, and we've made, with all of y'all's help, some really great progress on a lot of measures. But there are still measures like this measure that haven't gotten, that we haven't been able to get funding into the community. And just as a reminder, the end of our 5-year SERP period is July 2026, which does seem far, and we do have time to continue to work on these measures. But I think as I'm feeling now that we're in August, because it felt like January yesterday, time just flies. And so we just wanted to continue to encourage the CSC to keep that date in mind as we are working to build consensus on all these various SERP measures, because we definitely just, on our side, want to make sure that we don't get too close to that date and, for any folks to feel surprised about it. So as we're making these decisions, we just want to make sure we keep that framing in mind as we're making decisions. So I hope that was maybe a good summary, and maybe I'll pass to Margot or see if Margot, if there's anything else that you think is helpful to add.
I don't have anything specific. I just want to encourage everyone here to ask questions and see if we can make a decision tonight. Or do we feel that we're ready for a decision, I think. Okay.
Thank you, Marco. This is Amy. And Steph, we have a question, and I see your hand, Douglas. Let me just start with Regina's question in the chat. Hi, Regina. Welcome. What part of 8th Street is covered?
Okay, this is Sulema again. So 8th Street is not covered on this project. Our limits are from Frenchtown Turnpike, starting at Center Street, going down to 8th Street. There was a previous project, I think it has been completed, that did install bike lanes and a roundabout from, I believe, 8th Street all the way down to El Dorado Street. So there's bike lanes on 8th Street already.
Thank you, Sulema. Everett?
Good evening. I just wanted to thank everyone for their prayers and good thoughts from me as I was in transitioning coming out of the hospital. I'm for this, and so, but I just have a question, and maybe my question might be a little, well, I don't want to say ambiguous, but someone could answer it. Because when you say bike lanes, and I know the lady from the city's there, young lady from the city is there, do we include the not the mopeds, but the what do they call those things that are coming around town, and they're what are they, the scooters? Are we including those scooters too? Are they supposed to ride on the road? Because the thing is that they're getting faster and faster. That's my question.
Thank you, Everett. That's a great question.
This is Sulema. Even, can I defer this question to you?
Sure, thanks. We had our traffic engineer on this call, but it looks like he had to step out. But we can check the vehicle code, but I've seen other cities allow those mopeds to utilize the bike lanes. They're not allowed on the sidewalk for sure because they're fast, and you don't want to mix them with the pedestrians. So I want to say they are allowed to use the roadway, including the bike lanes. But I can double check to be sure our vehicle code.
Yeah, that and the scooters too. That along with the scooters itself, because yeah, because I think they're a little different, but yet, like I said, they are getting faster. And is there going to be a problem with the bikes and the scooters, coming together? But like I said, this project, I'm ready for it to go because we need all the help we can get to slow the traffic down and to let more people ride more safer on the bicycle lanes and really take advantage of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Everett. And I want to call on Douglas. Go ahead, Douglas. I will unmute you on my end and just accept. Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and use my interpreter.
So will that continue for the bike lane? I think it's a very positive thing to have happen. And I think that this is really good for all of the roads where they painted on the road so that it's there and it's clear. And then with the traffic, knowing that they can slow down and it's controlled and they have the lights, whether they're flashing or whatever way to make sure that the traffic and the flow is safe for the bikes. I just want to make sure that that's there and that's important. And we've been waiting for this for a long time. I know in the schoolyard areas that the bike lanes is going to be really safe for them and that they're working on that. And I think that's a really good addition. So thank you.
This is Amy. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate the comments. And I'm seeing Regina's question. There are no lanes from Houston to Fresno and insufficient lanes from Fresno to Highway 5 on 8th. Can we include lanes on 8th Street?
Hi, this is Sulema again. So for this project, we will not be able to include the area you are concerned about. I do know we have an application for active transportation program that includes the area that you are concerned about. So it's just awaiting a result on whether we received funding for that or not.
And if I could maybe add to that, Zulema, also, I maybe just wanted to reframe too. I just want everyone also to know that, I think looking at this project, there may be areas in Stockton that you may see that you're like, oh, I'd love that. And I know that the city is here to kind of hear that as well, because I know that they've talked about it a lot, but the city of Stockton has a giant master plan, like they've mentioned, of making all of Stockton a lot more bikeable. So I want to make sure that if you're feeling like, oh, I also want something in addition to that, I want to make sure we're not thinking like, oh, it has to be this or that if, looking at this project alone, is this something that you support to help encourage and make it more, make Stockton more bikeable? And as Zulama mentioned, they're still, this is the funding that we have through 617 that we will, we're looking with these funds to leverage and work with agencies that do this kind of work, because 500K in the reality of a project is something we need to leverage funds. It's not something we're going to do our own project. As you all may have seen, their budget for just this project alone is is over 2 million just for this portion of the bike lanes in the 617 area. And so like Zulema mentioned, the work still continues. They still are continuing to put bike lanes and working on this throughout the whole community. But in our meeting tonight, I think really the big question is, do you all support the project that kind of is in front of you today? I just wanted to reframe that. I wanted to make sure no one felt like, this is it and this is the only bike lanes that are happening in Stockton. Zulema even, and I know Jaji have talked a lot about the ongoing work that they have and the big, big vision that they have for making Stockton a lot more bikeable. And even feel free to add anything that you may have, or Zulema too.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, Regina, thank you for that inquiry. Yes, like what Sulema had stated, we do have an application that we recently submitted to the state for the ATP, Active Transportation Plan. That includes the segment of 8th Street that you mentioned. We did reach out, I want to say back in May. We did a public outreach to the community leaders over there at Marshall Elementary School to talk about that application that includes Houston, Manti, and 8th Street. So yes, we are actively seeking out grant opportunities to make this plan of bikeability and walkability a reality.
Thank you for that clarification. This is Amy. Mary Elizabeth, would you like to go next with your question?
Yes, think it's just a comment because I do a lot of walking and biking, and when I'm on the sidewalk, there is electric bikes, and just a few weeks ago, coming back from the farmers market over at Weberstown, walking south for a long trek, almost got run over by an electric bike that was on the wrong side of the road, right? Or going opposite of traffic on the sidewalk, because there's no sidewalks on the other side of Pacific Avenue. And I have taken this to the environment or the legislative and environmental committee about the bicycles, and bicycles are allowed, including electric bikes, are allowed on Stockton sidewalks. So this is something, that folks need to really, push their electeds to make sure that we get those electric scooters and bikes off of the sidewalks, because it is not safe at all, particularly in some places where there's vegetation that extends into the sidewalk area. So it narrows in places. And the question that I had, that was just the comment because I have information that I have obtained. Are you using any RTIF funds for some of these projects, particularly on Center that in El Dorado, that are connecting part of the regional road system? where we desperately need bikes so that we can use our biking system for folks to get to work in the industrial areas that the city is developing in South Stockton?
You want me to answer that, Sulema?
Yeah, go ahead, Ethan.
So for this project, we're not using RTIF funds. This particular project utilize CMAQ, which is congestion mitigation air quality. There's active transportation funds. There's housing development funds. There's public fee facilities, transportation, traffic, air quality type that we are using for the funds. RTIF, we are aware of that. We tend to utilize RTIF on a bigger project. We are working on a future project and we are looking at RTIF right now, but it's not certain how much from RTIF we're using. But just to answer your question, we're not using RTIP money on this project.
Thank you, Evan. Debbie?
I have two questions. The first question is if, and I guess this is for the city of Stockton, if we didn't approve this, would you guys go ahead and do it anyway? Would you have the money, or would you look for it elsewhere? Or
So I'll let Sulima answer that, but to tell you, just to answer your question, while we awarded the project, we still have short funds. And we utilize all types of strategies to be able to meet the deadline from the funding source. So we are moving forward with the project. We probably have to strategize some more while we are actively looking for opportunities like this one to get fundings.
okay. And then my second question is, I thought reading city council minutes and regarding this project, that it was, our funds were included already. Is that true?
That is true, and Sulema can explain that a little bit more.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, so we did brief our council members on the potential of receiving these funds, just so they basically got a heads up and were aware that the city was actively pursuing other funding sources to supplement this project.
So it wasn't a positive
No.
type of thing that you guys said you had it already.
No, it was just kind of like a heads up that there's the potential for these funds.
Okay, yeah, because the way they put it, it sounded the opposite, so.
Yeah, and this is Stephanie. Just I want to put Debbie your mind at ease that we did work with Suleiman even ahead of that ahead of that council item to let them know that yes, we have been, and it's been several months since we've been working with this committee, that it is something that we are working on with them, but there was no guarantee of of that funding, the 617 funding. I just want to clarify that, which is why we're still discussing it today.
I just want to make sure that nobody's assuming anything,
Yep.
Although it's a good chance that it's going to pass, but that nobody's assuming anything, because in reading what I read, it sounded like it was already a done deal. So, and then I have one more question. Is it possible to get any type of funds or does that have to, from the federal government, from the, I don't know, was it Inflation Reduction Act? Build Back Better or whatever, you know, its nickname is. But I think the actual act was called the Inflation Reduction Act. Is it possible to get funds from there?
David, thanks for bringing that up. No, we have not looked into that yet, and we have not approached the federal and the state folks, our partners over there, regarding that.
Okay.
I have one more question when you got a minute, you through whatever you.
Hi, Everett. I didn't catch your question, but before I go to you, Everett, Douglas has been raising his hand for a while, so I want to make sure Douglas gets his question in.
And I'm done.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Douglas. This is Amy.
Unmuted?
Yep.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm always concerned about safety and regarding the budget. And I know that the budget has already allocated to do bike laning. Already did the project, how much they're bidding for. But one thing they didn't forget is the safety. I do believe what the other person was saying about in sidewalk, there should be no bike, no e-bike, no bicycle on the sidewalk where people could walk on the sidewalk. That's what they call sidewalk. No bike walk, sidewalk. You know what I mean? It's common sense. But yet we need to practice safety to allow when we have a bike lane, all those things can use as the layout of e-bikes or anything that has battery operated machine can use that facility. When I call the Stockton, though, not the building, but the what do they call that word I'm looking for? The path to have a safety road. So if one bike posted on the right side, all going this way, and the one going backward, it should have the same thing, like having the traffic going back and forth. You know what I mean? Instead of having the bike on the other side in the wrong way, you know, we should be able to correct that and re-educate, you know, people that hey, you're in the wrong side of the road. You know what I mean? The wrong side of the bike track. You know what I mean? So I wonder if the city itself can put a sign that here bike lanes with e-bike and so people could use that option instead of using the sidewalk. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, so really the bike, the pedestrian, especially the fast e-bikes are not really, they don't mix well with the pedestrian. I want to mention though that the ATP funds, the active transportation funds that we are doing on this project also covers for the gap closure, meaning if there's no gap, if there's no sidewalk there, or there's existing gap, we would connect that by installing new sidewalk. And if there's dilapidated sidewalk, we would repair that sidewalk. That's part of this project right here. But we're talking right now the $500,000 or 500K that subject of this topic is going to be specific to the bike lanes.
Specific for the bike lane. Well, like for example, just the other day we had an organization. I believe that children should ride their bike every weekend to stay out of trouble. And we had an organization going toward Monte Diablo in the middle of the street, widening, just stopping traffic, but it's going all the way to Lois Park. And then we don't have no bike. We don't have no bike path in this busy area, the traffic area right here, going towards Monte Diablo, parks anywhere. So when we go, and then the next day they do the same thing. They come back again. A couple of hours they came back with a whole bunch more back, and going towards Victory Park and still blocking the street, on the street. So there's really not much of a choice for a person of you or people who's in charge of an organization that does that are not educated. If hey, that's a dangerous way of driving your bike, taking your kid in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the concern of mine as well. As far as that concerned. But for you, I think we should ask fun that it should be bicycle, not only, but bicycle with e-bike, because it's going to be in the future. Everybody's going to be riding e-bike eventually, because that's going to be a common way of getting it. I'm thinking I'm getting it already because it's more efficient. If I get tired, I have to use the battery and to go any more further to go do more errands. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be in the future as well too. So I don't care about cars. I just care about my e-bike. All right. That's all my concerns for the safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. And Regina just added to the comments on the chat that it's a concern. So thank you for sharing. I see Hector and Stephanie. I don't know, Stephanie, if you wanted to go before Hector.
If I could, this is Stephanie, if I could, because it's responding to Douglas's comment. So we mentioned there's this 500K from AB617 is just part of a bigger budget. I just want to assure you, Douglas, that the bigger project that this 617 project is under includes that signage to be protective of people, just so you know. And so, yes, go ahead and Hector with the question.
Go ahead, Hector.
Hi, so Hector from Catholic Charities. So I know that we're running really close to time.
Yes.
So I was hoping that we can get to this vote, either see that everybody's ready to vote, or I would hate to really put it off.
Thank you for helping us move forward. So at this time, for protocol, I'd like to ask if there is any opposition to favoring to move forward with the bike lane project.
Well, I'll vote no. Mary Elizabeth, resident of Stockton.
Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. I have one no. I just need to know if there's any other no's.
I'm sorry, I can explain that no.
If you are opposed to moving forward with implementation of the bike lane project, as you heard it presented at the last 3 meetings, including today, I would like to know if you are not supporting this. A vote of no means I am not supporting the bike lane project. As of right now, Mary Elizabeth as a member says no. And I see your yeses on the chat, so I just need to know the no's.
Can you reword that language? I'm a little confused. Yes, me, I'm opposed, or yes, I'm for it.
Sorry, sure. Laura, quick question, Stephanie. Are we able to get that slide up that has the graphic on what a yes and a no means?
This is Stephanie. Yeah, so this is the slide that we have for that. Essentially, there is 500K allocated to this measure. And so, what we're deciding on is whether or not you want to see this project. If you like this project, we would love to move forward with it. And it's been a few meetings since we've been discussing. So I hear Mary, and then we'd love to hear from anyone else. A yes means we move forward. A no means you do not want to see this project move forward.
And right now in the general audience.
With AB617 funds.
Before we actually commit, can I just mention that how I see this is we as a AB617 CSC do not have the opportunity to build a bike path with $500,000. That's not in our wheelbase or whatever you say. So I just want to reaffirm that we will be tagging on to something if we do it. Okay, that's all.
Okay, my vote is a yes, but my question was, if we do pass this how soon will this be going into effect? Because I think that's one of the most important things. Because all the other things that you can apply to that as you go along, but we're in proposed collaboration with the city and other situations, and I think that we need to go forward. But yet, and then all the major concerns will be tagged along with the other parts of that contributing factors to the Stockton, the city, because we have to deal with the city and the state, as far as the DMV and everything else. There's more to it. There's more to it than we see.
Yeah, Everett, those will be discussed and talked about when it's a yes, so that we can continue the conversation. For right now, we just need to know if we want to move forward with planning and implementation.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to ask one more time for opposition, and if not hearing it, we could go into a breakout rooms to go into an official vote. But it is 7:01, so I would like to just only hear from folks that are opposed to this. I am seeing right now on the chat, Regina is opposed. That is a no-go. And Mary Elizabeth is a no-go. Anyone else? Okay, per your charter, that is a consensus. So the majority of you are in favor. So we'll move forward with implementation of the bike lane path. And with that said, we will bring this to discussion at future meetings with more details and more around implementation. Our next agenda item is regarding standing updates. We will transition the standing updates from all of the collaborating agencies to the online platforms to be respectful of your time. So please stay tuned to the email that has the district's updates and everyone else's updates provided in the email. In addition to that, we will provide you updates on the action items that were reported today. And we'll move forward with the bike lane project, and we'll have more updates at our next meeting. At this time, I'd like to move to some reminders about our next meeting. So if my colleague Laura can share your screen about our next meeting.
One second, I'm having technical difficulties. Can you all see that screen?
Perfect, thank you, I can see it. And so as you all know, we don't dedicate a formal meeting to agenda settings, but we will be allocating time at our next meeting to talk about the agenda topics for the next quarter. In addition to that, our next official meeting will be Wednesday, September 4th at 5 p.m. via Zoom. If you do have any questions or have any concerns and would like to reach out to anyone from the Air District or our facilitation team, please don't hesitate to reach out. At this time, this concludes our meeting for tonight. And we just want to wish you a very delightful evening, and thank you for all your questions and the concerns that you raised tonight. I want to thank all of our presenters and all the partners that were here today to help talk about all of the concerns that you all had. And congratulations on now moving forward with the bike lane project.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Yeah.
for this opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And thank you so much to Margot for setting up such an amazing meeting as co-host. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margot.
Thanks, Margot.